Hey everybody, okay. So this is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the moment where I show everyone how to do a junk journal. And we're gonna use junk. Or I wouldn't call it junk, I call it things that are just on hand. This is a box. This is actually one of my son's toys that he got for Christmas, and I saved the box. And we're gonna cut this box up to use as our cover for our journal. We're gonna cut over here, and we're gonna cut over here so that the box flaps open. This box, however, is pretty sturdy. That's how it sounds like. A little SMR for you. So just to show you what I did so far, I cut out this portion right here. And what you wanna do is you wanna open up this flap as well. So this is the bottom of the box. So it looks like this. So we're gonna cut right here. So here we go. We have now a 3-panel piece here. So essentially what I'm gonna do is measure this. Now, you can make your junk journal as big as you want. I mean, it could be this big if you wanted to. It'd probably take more material. So maybe I don't suggest that, but like if you want to, like make a standard scrapbook type of thing, yeah, go ahead, you know. I'm not gonna do that. There's a standard 8.5 by 11, which most papers come in. I just like to make it easier for me, so I'll probably go maybe 8 inches by 5.5. That way when I fold a piece of paper, all I have to do is trim a little bit of it. So all your elements that go inside the journal, it's called signatures. It's all the papers and the writing pieces that you're gonna place in here. They have to be at the very most as big as the cover itself. So I'm gonna make this 8 by 5.5. I'm measuring from the top of the cardboard. And so I'm coming down up until the 8-inch, and I'm just making a marcation here, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut from this. All of this is gonna be chopped off, and that's gonna be the length. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure both panels. So from the crease that it bends right here, this is a crease that bends, I'm gonna measure 5 inches. Or 5.5. Let's go 5.5, because that's the standard half-size paper. So if you can see, I'm just gonna mark. I just need a little indication because, yeah. Okay, so here is my cut cloth. As you can tell, I cut the trimming. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna determine what side of the fabric you want. Now, to me, it's very obvious that this side is the design side and this is the inside. Later, we're gonna glue this to the back side. Of course, again, it's this to the back side, and then later we're going to fold it, because we're binding a book, right? So it's kind of like you're making a book. So we're just gonna like kind of fold it just to give you an idea of what we're gonna do. So let's get gluing. This is a fabric glue. I'm pretty sure there's other glues out there. Some people actually use regular school glue. I don't trust it because it's meant for kids and it's washable. Like, people have different opinions and different tastes, and I respect that, like, you know, a lot. For me, I eventually want something that's gonna stick and it will adhere, even though it's messy. It's like a trade-off. Like, would you rather have easy application of glue, you know? Some people use clear school glue, the clear one that Elmer's has. I mean, if your glue especially like dries white, it doesn't dry clear, then some of that glue could actually show up on the cover. So, you know, some people would just prefer clear. It really depends like what kind of fabric you use. If you're using a thick fabric like this, I don't see a lot of issue. But if you're using a thin fabric, you know, like a muslin or something, that could have some issues. Obviously, you will see glue seepage. Today we're using tacky glue. So we're gonna apply a generous amount on the cover here. When you apply, you do want to apply a generous amount, but you don't want to apply too much, right? Because some glues can warp the cardstock. Me, I'm not afraid of it because the cardstock is pretty thick. Again, it's situational. You take your finger, take your good old finger, and just like spread it as thin as you can, so that there's like equal, as much as possible, an equal distribution throughout the cover. Now we're gonna eventually glue these other two panels, but I'm doing it panel by panel. It's just easier that way. So I'm doing my best, but at the same time, I'm really wanting to reinforce the edges. The edges like seem to suffer the most. So this is gonna be the cover. Again, making the sides as equal as possible. So I'm gonna really push on it, apply pressure. I really want this to adhere very well. Flip it over and make sure there's no air bubbles, there's no folds. You can smooth them out. This is the perfect opportunity to do so. Once it dries, it's there. And that's the reason why I do it panel by panel, because it's extremely difficult to do the whole entire cover if you do the whole entire cover, if you know what I mean. So now we're gonna do the spine. Again, I'm doing section by section. This is the wisest thing to do, trust me. But with these projects, you want to be as patient as possible, actually. You want to take your time, but it requires patience, which, if you're like me, I don't have. Okay, so I'm just gonna... Now, if you get too much glue, like I did, I just kind of went jolly on the glue here. No fret. Use it on the other panel. I know I said do it panel by panel, but you need to use the other glue. I mean, it's okay to kind of share it, right? This spine is what really needs to be reinforced. However, you can never strengthen it enough. I mean, this spine has to really be. So I'm putting it on. I'm being really careful, stretching it so that there's no air pockets or air bubbles. I don't want to stretch it too much because you don't want to have a warped cloth, because that can happen, especially if there's graphics on the cloth. Don't stretch it too much, but make sure that it's like really flat on there, like it's just really stuck to it. It's kind of like it's a second skin. We're about halfway through our back cover since we put all the glue on there, but it doesn't hurt to have extra reinforcements, if you know what I mean. So yeah, so this is how it is. What we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to just keep this here and wait for it to dry. We want it to be fully dried, and so you don't necessarily have to wait overnight, but it's always better to wait overnight to have the glue fully cure. I don't want to wait overnight. I'm gonna wait for a few hours, and then I'll come back and then I'll continue on with this. But this is the step we have so far.
A few moments later.
Hello everybody, and we are back. Everything is nice and dry. The edges are good because we glued them very well. And by the way, I would like to apologize for my audio from before. It turns out that it wasn't connected to my mic, so you must be hearing me very good right now. Now it's time to fold in the edges. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply glue to the edge, inner cover, the edge. Fold the edges in, so like a triangular shape, I fold them in. It's really as simple as that. Okay. And then you're going to fold the side in. Kind of like gift wrapping, but this is bookbinding 101. So as you can see also, there's a bit of fringes. What you can do is if there's like some sticky glue, you can just kind of press it in so those fringes stay in there, but really don't worry about these fringes. I mean, if there are a lot of them, you might want to cut them, but just stick them to the cupboard. So you have that end. What I like to do is I like to then, again, do panel by panel. You can stick it as you go along. But here's basically what we have. Alright, so you have it all wrapped up now, like a gift. So let's give this about 30 minutes and then we'll come back and work on the rest.
2 hours later.
Hey there, so we're back, and it's been actually over 30 minutes. It's actually been a couple of hours. So we have just the beginnings of our cover. We gotta cover this inside because this inside doesn't look good. We don't want to expose the fact that this is a box, but we do need to cover it. So there's several ways you can do it, but today we're gonna use something special because what I wanted to really do is to keep this as organic as possible. So this box is for my son's Christmas gift that he opened up this morning. This fabric again is from a friend who gave me a gift, and he wrapped it in this fabric. And now I'm going to use a very special wrapping paper that a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, her name is Kimmy, shout out to Kimmy. Funny story about this, okay? So she handed me this package. Kimmy told me, she said, Lexi, I hope you don't get offended by your gift. So I was thinking like, oh, why would I get offended? But I assured her, I said, I don't know what you got me, but I really do love the wrapping paper. And this paper in particular it's kind of like a paper bag texture type feel. It's like a paper bag. And she had it wrapped in there. She had like washi tape and all that good stuff. And it turned out to be underwear, which I actually loved. I'm actually wearing it now. I'm not offended at all, to say the least, but I thought it was so precious. You know, it's just how she said it, like, I hope you don't get offended, and how, like, I loved the paper. And I even promised her, like, oh, I would totally use this paper in one of my journals. So I'm going to do that. What do you know? This paper happens to be 8 inches long. So we're going to be able to cover this. But this paper, I mean, I could use, and I would suggest that you use something maybe thicker or something maybe even more decorative. But this this definitely has sentimental value to me. It definitely holds a very fun memory of my friend Kimmy in this year's Christmas. And so I would rather use something like this because it just adds value to my journal. It's those like memories, and it's those things that trigger or were a part of significant moments in your life that really you should use if you can. And so I'm going to use this to cover up the imperfections of what we have here. I'm going to measure this. I'm going to eyeball it. And it's not really that important to be exact in every single measurement. You don't need to. This is a journal that is tailored specifically to your aesthetic and your taste. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, I would even argue it shouldn't be perfect. This is going to be a unique experience. It's not something that should be copied or duplicated. Yeah, so I'm going to actually cut it from there. And then that way we'll have just a little edge add I'm gonna cut this and we'll be back. Okay, so this looks really good actually. I cut off some of the edges here, and I cut off a little more because I wanted it to be straight, so I kind of cut off the uneven edges. So all of these are pretty much even, and I actually like the pattern. I love these reindeer, and the fact that it's Christmassy, and the fact that this is Christmassy in the front too. Christmas is my favorite time of the year. So what I'm gonna do now is, before I apply this to the inside, I am going to sew a pattern around the edges so that there's like an accent. Alright, we're at the home stretch here. So what I did is I went ahead and I made a border. I sewed just a simple stitch around my interior of the cover, and it does make a difference. It's really worth adding and accenting, and really that's what scrapbooking is all about. Okay, so I just glued this down, and I thought I was recording and I wasn't. I'm so sad, but this was such a great experience. First off, look at this. This backing right here, because of the crafty paper bag type of feel and texture, like it totally like melded into the backing of this. It literally looks like a part of the cardboard that I used. Second of all, I used less glue on here than I did like on the cover, and the reason for that being is because since this is a very thin paper bag like texture, I didn't want to warp or bubble the material a lot, so I used less. I tried to spread it out as thinly as possible, and I worked into sections. I glued into sections, and it came out so awesome. So I am in every sense super satisfied with how this turned out. This was just absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited to get into making signatures, decorating this more. It just worked out, so I'm just super blessed. And yeah, we'll do this again. This is it, and I hope you have fun with your Christmas scraps. Pretty sure you have plenty, but until then, have a great Christmas season. Aloha.